This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Coming up on Game On, we review Dead Space, a really fun sort of combination of a horror movie and a first-person shooter that takes place aboard a spaceship. Now, I thought Sean was going to be here to review this with me, but he hasn't gotten back yet.
Cam, we're being overrun in the loading bay.
Okay. Just hold tight there. I'll send backup. All units report to Sector 9 immediately. We need backup at Sean's location. We need him here to play this game. Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Game On. I'm Cameron Harris.
And I'm Sean O'Brien.
And today we are reviewing Dead Space. First of all, good to see you got out of the loading bay all right.
Yes, I just barely managed to get out of there alive.
Yeah, you'll see what we're talking about in a minute. Once we start playing this game, it is intense. This is the interesting thing about this game. Dead Space is basically like a first-person shooter with some very different kind of weaponry. But it also is kind of like a horror movie. If you've ever seen like the movie Alien or Aliens, has that kind of feel. Keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time.
Yes, I've heard many people who think it is the scariest game they have ever played.
Yeah, easily. Play it in a dark room if you want.
In dark room, surround sound, big TV.
The storyline is you play this guy right here. His name is Isaac. He is an engineer, part of a team of just a few people who are sent to this huge spaceship called the Ishimura.
Okay.
Which is a planet cracker spaceship. Basically, it's this gigantic station with like 1,000 people on board, and they basically mine entire planets for the metals and the nutrients that are inside the planet, basically. Wow. And their communications have been knocked out. We haven't heard from them in a long time. So you've been dispatched. You're an engineer, and you've been dispatched to the planet, or specifically the planet cracker,
right,
to go on board and see what's up. You think it's just a problem with the communication system. It turns out it's a bit deeper than that. There are these creatures called the necromorphs, which have come on the ship from the planet. There's a little bit more backstory than that, but basically they're these just creatures that are not exactly zombies. Rather, they basically take dead tissue and kind of mold it into new, bizarre creatures that come after you.
Hence the term necromorph.
Exactly.
Got it.
Your weaponry is kind of interesting because just shooting the necromorphs in like the body doesn't work. What you need to do, what's more effective, is to actually cut off limbs. Strangely enough, because they aren't really alive, so they're, the only real way to do it is just kind of disable them completely.
Slice them up.
Exactly. Let's go ahead and get into it, and I'll show you what we're talking about.
Sounds great.
So here we are in Dead Space, about partway through the game. This is what the interior of the Ishimura looks like. Now, keep in mind, this thing is huge. And then you are playing this guy right here. His name's Isaac. Keep in mind, I am now on my second playthrough of the game. When you first play through the game, you have a much more basic armor system, and you have very limited weapon selection, but you upgrade those pretty quickly. These are the kind of weapons you have. This is the first weapon you get in the game. Called the plasma cutter. So, for example, if I shoot, you see we've got these laser guides here, and it shoots kind of like a beam almost.
Okay.
Like that. I can also rotate it to shoot. This is kind of interesting. Like I said, the real goal here is to sever the limbs.
Right.
So this is kind of a nice precision weapon because you can adjust it, and it's kind of like, okay, let's make a slice here and a slice here, like you're filleting a fish.
Yes.
But then you can carry up to 4 weapons. So there's that one. I also have this one here, the line gun, which has a much wider range. I also have a more typical like rapid fire blaster.
Cool.
And I also have this thing, which is kind of like the equivalent of a rocket launcher almost.
Ah, cool.
But there's others too. There's a flamethrower. There's all kinds of different stuff.
Cool.
But also you'll notice there's no interface.
Literally none.
All the stuff is instead on your suit. So for example, this thing right here along your spine, that is actually your health meter.
It's very much like Ghostbusters, which we reviewed in the past.
Yes, all the information was on your proton pack.
Yes.
And then also on your weapons, so like if I go back to the plasma cutter, you see that number right there shows up on the weapon. And this kind of holographic display, it's kind of like augmented reality almost,
Yeah.
is how you do everything in the game. For example, here, this pops up in front of you. And the interesting thing is, like, this is our inventory. You can still move around
Wow.
and be moving in
And
3D.
Yeah, the items move kind of with you, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah,
And then you can go through and check out the map, for example.
which is also in 3D.
The map is in 3D, which is pretty weird.
Yeah.
The game is about 50-50 in terms of action.
Okay.
There are times when there's nothing around you. And that's actually kind of freaky. You can hear things in the walls and coming towards you, and you never know when they're actually going to come at you.
They're going to jump out at you. The game is very dark and spooky.
It's actually very difficult to see sometimes. When you aim, you hold down a button to aim your weapon, and when you do aim, you get kind of like a flashlight kind of thing,
Oh, got it. Nice.
which helps, but it's very limited.
Still, it's, yeah, very.
And this is kind of cool. If you don't know where to go, what you do is you hold down the right analog stick button, and what you get is
Oh,
you get this kind of holographic line that you're supposed to follow
got it.
to your
So
next
Go
objective.
to this point.
And again, all augmented reality. Oh, and here we go. Ammo. Here's some plasma energy for the plasma gun.
Nice.
So I can pick that up. So now I need to, whoa, there's something there. So you can see it doesn't exactly, it's got human parts, but it's not human.
Not at all.
Now I can start just kind of chopping up the legs there, and oh, they break into a bunch of smaller pieces.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it is great, isn't it? So in this case, it might be better for me to switch to my rapid fire weapon here.
Oh, wow. That's almost like a machine gun.
Pretty much, yeah. Not super great at cutting, but
Killing
for the
things.
smaller, weaker things that require more precision. Now you can see here, we've got this thing here that says store. This is where you can spend credits. So if I go into the store, for example, again, the store is like this very kind of holographic display. And here's a shop where I can buy all kinds of different things. You can see we get things like a force gun, a flamethrower, as well as upgrades for the suit, ammunition, as well as small, medium, and large med packs, air canisters, various other things.
How are the controls?
Weird, really weird. The controls are like, I mean, your typical analog stick, moving
Right.
around with the left, looking around with the right. Everything else, completely bizarre.
Entering zero gravity.
So you can see we've gotten into a zero gravity area because the ship is in space where there's no gravity. The ship generates gravity, but in some places it doesn't, or the
Okay.
gravitational generators are offline.
Got it.
In this case, you have boots that attach you to whatever surface you're on.
Okay.
But the way you move around is you can walk, but you can't just like walk off a ledge.
Got it.
What you need to do instead, you can see I need to clear these glowing green balls out of here.
Got it.
But what you can do instead is you aim, and this is where the controls get a little bit weird. If you aim in anti-gravity
Okay.
and let's say I want to jump to that surface, you then hit triangle. You can see I jump,
Oh, got
move
it.
through. Once you launch, you can't change your course or anything like that.
You can only go to that location.
Exactly. So this is where kinesis comes in really handy. These are basically glowing balls of radiation.
Oh, yum.
So what I need to do here is I need to get rid of them, and I can use kinesis to latch onto them and move them around. The way I need to do that is I need to open up the blast doors here
Oh, got
and
it.
shoot them back out into space.
Entering vacuum.
And you can see I've now that the blast doors are opening, we're basically in space at this point.
Right. It's depressurizing.
Right. And you can see that I now have a little timer on my suit. I have a limited amount of air. I can carry air canisters that'll like boost me, and my suit recharges every time I exit in air mode, but oh, come on, there's more? Oh, jeez.
Lovely.
There we go. They have a habit of showing up at the worst possible times.
Yeah, right. Great when you're running out of air.
Yeah. And shoot
Shoot
that.
it out.
Radioactive material removed.
I say you got just a little over a minute left of air there.
And I've upgraded my air supply quite a bit. When you start out, you have maybe 30 seconds.
Wow.
So you can see Dead Space is a pretty interesting game, very unusual. Things like the anti-grav and the vacuum areas make it pretty unique as a game.
Definitely.
The controls, so bizarre.
Yeah.
They take a lot of getting used to. If you don't play the game for a while, you have to kind of refamiliarize yourself with the buttons.
Yeah, because it's not like other first-person shooters at all.
No, like you mean to reload, but then you end up using one of your med packs. No, not that button. So some weird stuff, but even so, it's still a fantastic, fantastic game.
Great, and definitely intense.
Yes, available for PS3 and Xbox 360. Really, really good game. I would definitely check it out.
Sounds great.
Just make sure you have nerves of steel.
Yes. If you're not a horror film fan, probably this game is not for you.
Yeah.
But if you like to be on the edge of your seat,
Even me, I'm not a horror film kind of guy.
Okay.
But this is still a really the game part really it really helps it because you can do something about it.
right?
You're not just sitting there helpless watching it.
That's true. That's
You're actually, you have a plasma cutter in your hand, which is always nice.
Yeah.
So big thumbs up from us. Until next time, be sure to visit our website at www.harwoodpodcast.com. We'll have the show notes for this episode and a link to where you can pick up Dead Space for yourself for whatever platform you want. And if you have any questions or comments for us about the show, games you want us to review, or anything like that, send us an email. My email is Cameron@harwoodpodcast.com.
So until next time.
Game on.